Welcome back to everybody. We're gonna be continue on in our, yeah, we're gonna be diving back into our OG. Well, I don't even know if it's gonna be that OG anymore. But we're gonna be diving back into our deep dive reactions. So today I think we're gonna be diving into Robot Chicken. So Robot Chicken was I think it was one of the first like slapstick, so like one of the first like mature shows, I guess, that took like the, for me at least, that took the like slapstick aesthetic of like the old Looney Tunes and shows that I grew up on, where like it was like this obscene humor, obscene violence, but like it never really got like super crazy. Like it was like what was it? Not Ren and Stimpy. Was it the Itchy and Scratchy show on like The Simpsons? How like their cartoon was always like super crazy. Well, I would say super crazy, but yeah, they did show like blood and them like cutting off each other's heads and stuff like that. And our cartoon never really got that far. But once finding like stuff like Robot Chicken, which was like also parodying these shows and games that I had either grown up with at the time or had seen from like my parents' generations and whatnot, definitely piqued your interest at the time. So we're gonna be taking out Heroic Tales TV. What even was Robot Chicken? A retrospective.
Tell me if you've ever been here before. You're between the ages of 10 and 13 years old. It's a Friday or Saturday night, and you've not got school the next day, so you can stay up super late. You liked Cartoon Network during the day, and it always sucks when 9 p.m. hits and it switches over to Adult Swim. There were no other good shows on. Nickelodeon and Disney Channel all were playing crap, so right now Adult Swim was the best there was. You learn quickly that King of the Hill is funny sometimes, but it can be a bit slow for your childhood palate. Family Guy and American Dad are great. They have a level of humor a bit more mature than anything you had seen before during the day. However, it was still funny. As the night goes on, the shows you see slowly become stranger and stranger, and then suddenly, sometime around 2 in the morning, you hear this haunting song.
Haunting, they've got one of the hardest openings. That should instantly bopped. Wait, hold on, I think I too early. It's alive! Yo, their whole rivalry throughout the seasons, the fucking scientists and the chicken, the robot chicken or whatnot, because if I'm remembering correctly, there was always like, I don't know if it was in the season finales or if they just did this shit randomly, but there would be like scenes where well, there'll be whole sections where the the chicken gets it get back on the scientist and shit. Then the scientist recaptures him or does another more experiment on him or whatnot. A new thing gets added to him or some shit. He gets cloned or something. I think at some point, it gets crazy. So it's always like some of like the continuity they keep with some of their anthology shit.
Hello and welcome back to Heroic Tales TV, the show that is still waiting for financial compensation from Adult Swim for all of the emotional and mental trauma caused to me from the show Robot Chicken. And if you haven't guessed it yet, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today.
I consider that I was probably introduced to some of this stuff way too early because I did not see it like traumatizing as well. Cause like even with like the first time seeing like what was it, that like known scene meme, the gummy bear scene, I'm a gummy bear, and she gets hit with the fucking bear trap.
I'm so happy cause I'm a gummy bear, Fucking Oh, I guess there's only one way out of this. Goodness, I taste delicious.
That wasn't bad at all.
Gummy bears. For candy this delicious, you'll chew off your own leg.
Like that. It's definitely dark as fuck. And then like, doesn't she like eat her way out of it and everything? And it's like, but like, then I remember like, what was it? Shows like Billy and Mandy, where there was a whole episode where Billy gets turned into chocolate and he is dead ass like eating himself the whole episode.
Just choose only one, but choose wisely, Billy, for only one contains the antidote. Will it be caustic caramel cream, horrific hazelnut, mutating marshmallow, or antidote?
Caustic caramel cream, horrific hazelnut, mutating marshmallow, or antidote.
And like, I'm pretty sure it's the point where he literally just eats himself out of existence. He just says, "Forget it," because he's too delicious. It's so absurd, but at the same time, like, I don't know. I don't think my brain ever attributed to like real life or anything like that. In the sense that I felt how, because it is like super. Like looking back on it, I guess like it is, especially at the age, it is something super crazy to see at that time. But I don't know. There's got to be definitely some psychology.
If you are fortunate enough not to have ever heard of Robot Chicken before, then let me go ahead and fill you in on what was this early 2000s gem. Robot Chicken is an American stop-motion animation sketch company television series created by Seth Green and Matthew Seenrick. The show features a variety of short comedic sketches and parodies, often satirizing pop culture, celebrities, and television shows and movies. The sketches are created using different dolls and action figures using stop-motion animation with a small amount of computer animation mixed into it. Because of this, the show has a very distinctive and unique style that sets it apart from all of the other shows on television.
Yo, that's another thing about Adult Swim that, I mean, we already knew about, but like, that's just so crazy about a lot of the shows that they showed off. They did a lot of stop motion shit. Like, yeah, they obviously added like some computer generated stuff to it, but like Robot Chicken was running for years, and like even though they were like little, most like short anthology series that were like maybe at sometimes 30 seconds to like 5 minutes at most, possibly, if even that. And so, but still, that's still so much stop motion work to do. I wonder how I do wonder if they did like eventually start doing like rigging, but like at the same time, it was still very, toy soldiers, I guess. Were just like little action figures.
The awesome commandos. Yeah, everything else is just a toy. Kitty, kitty, kitty. String him up.
Or nowadays on the internet. Robot Chicken never really reached the heights of shows like Family Guy or South Park, but for a lot of people, it will still always be remembered. Its humor was off the walls and was literally always taken to the extreme. Because of that, even if you didn't find the show funny, you were still likely to remember it for one reason or another.
See, like, that's absolutely crazy now, but I'm sure especially as a kid, I know I was just sitting there fucking dying. Like, I feel like obviously if this were to happen at the same, at that same age, if this were to happen in like a live action horror movie, I feel like I would definitely be like, terrified. Maybe not, because I don't know. Some of my favorite movies and stuff as a kid were like Scream and all that, so I don't know. Because like stuff that like got really like this gory and whatnot didn't come out until like, what was it, like, well, that's still hard to say, because like as far as I feel like they took a break with it, because in horror you have like the super early campy horror stuff, was always super like bloody and gory and like shit spurting everywhere. And like at some point that kind of skirted off to a more narrative structured horror segment with like the Halloweens and everything. Like they were still brutal, but like the deaths and everything weren't like outrageously bloody and anything like that. Like with like you have like the Ash versus Ash versus evil and whatnot, and Evil Dead and all that. Because those seem like those were more like standouts at that point now versus being the norm. But then like now, well, here and there you get them now, but like now it seems like it's definitely more like narrative and plot driven. And of course the infamous jump scare that's been completely overused to shit now, where it's just like some loud noise happens. It's one thing where something happens by surprise, another thing when you know you just throw a loud noise and flash something on the screen just to do it. But we can continue. I'm down.
Oh, my baby. We were just driving by. We saw the flames. Is that kid gonna be okay?
Robot Chicken first appeared as Sweet J Presents, produced for the Sony website Screen Blast all the way back in 2001. The show was created, written, and produced by Seth Green, Matt Sinrick. The show ended after only 12 episodes, before returning in 2005 in the form of Robot Chicken, now being shown on Cartoon Network's Adult Swim. According to Tom Root, one of the original writers for the show, they originally wanted to call the series Junk in the Trunk, but Adult Swim didn't like that because it was also the name of a popular porn series at the time. They tried out lots of different names, but finally landed on Robot Chicken. The show's name was actually inspired by
like junk in the like toy trunk, maybe? I don't know. I don't know why. What that would have. Trying to think of why that would have fit the theme. And maybe this was just earlier development that this was all happening.
a dish off the menu of a West Hollywood Chinese restaurant called Kung Pao Bistro. Although at first they didn't really like this name because it didn't have much to do with their show. So of course they then created the iconic intro with their titular character, the Robot Chicken. Did you know?
So the mascot came after the creation of the show. So they didn't even have it until they created the name. That's crazy since it's like the staple of the show, obviously, now.
The opening sequence has actually changed a lot through the years. At one point, the chicken kills the mad scientist and puts him in the chair, and at another point, the two team up together to dig up dead bodies. Putting the brilliantly done stop-motion animation to the side for a second, I think what really makes the show stand out and what really makes the show itself is Seth Green and all of his writers. Their brand of quirky humor and the lens at which they look at pop culture through, I think really cements the show in pop culture, funny enough, and has given it a very distinctive identity all onto itself. Which is funny because it was intended to be Cartoon Network's sort of answer to SNL, you know, a sort of sketch show that is a bunch of different gags and jokes all compiled together.
And then Matt and I shopped that around to a bunch of people, and we got it set up at the Cartoon Network on the Adult Swim, which is the best place in the world for it to be. I've got a really ridiculously wide general knowledge of pop culture, and especially toys and comic-themed things from the 80s. I just absorbed all that stuff.
The car slips off its block and it's going to crash out this window. It's like the Ferris Bueller's thing. Yeah.
It's so cool to see the behind the scenes for these stop motion. What?
So we try and find the silliest inconsistencies and ways to parody things.
Mario Kart. Absolutely absurd. Everybody, not
basically
one
taking
person
all our
missed
heroes and, you know, making assholes out of them.
Have you ever thought about doing like a porno Shaggy?
Beautiful.
Hey. If we can define it as parody and make sure that the characterization is somehow transformative, then yeah, we'll consider it.
Don't. I like Scoob. Come over here, man. All I do is lick my balls.
On February 20th, 2005, Robot Chicken aired its first episode titled, funny enough, Junk in the Trunk. So they didn't get to use the title for the show, but they did get to use the title for this first episode, which is kind of neat. And since then, the rest is history. That first episode was only 11 minutes long, and since then I do believe the episodes have increased in time just a little bit. But other than that, it's pretty much par for the course from what you'd expect from Robot Chicken. Not a lot about the formula has changed. It is a series of skits put together, a series of comedic shorts and parodies, and it's just what you would expect from Robot Chicken nowadays. But of course, some of the material obviously has become slightly dated just due to the topics that they're referencing, not really being a big deal in our culture at this point. I want to take a minute to touch on some of the things that really make Robot Chicken stand out, just to sort of solidify kind of where I'm coming from with this. I think that we've already touched a little bit on this topic of stop motion animation, but I'm not sure that people truly appreciate how much work actually goes into creating an episode. According to Tom Shepard, one of the show's directors, it can take them about 6 months to direct and produce an entire season of 20 episodes, and it can take them anywhere from a few weeks to a few months to tackle a single episode, depending on...
Okay, that's not too bad. About 6 months for a whole season. 20 episodes of that.
On what sort of scenes they're dealing with and how many characters are in those scenes. So as you can clearly tell, there's a lot of people who are doing a lot of hard work and are very dedicated in making this show come across and happen. Obviously, it does have this sort of more quicker and less refined sort of style than something like the recent Pinocchio movie or Wes Anderson's Fantastic Mr. Fox. It's not necessarily as refined as those things, but it is sort of, it's just charming in the same way. It has its own charm the same way that those movies do. Along with the show's stop motion aspect, another thing that makes the show really stand out to me is their comedic styles and subjects, making it unpredictable and engaging for viewers.
Oh, you never know where they're gonna go with some of the topics. Like, it's not even like they parody it and then like make fun of like the plot of the movie. It could be a completely different concept with just using those characters for no reason. Like I know they use Transformers a couple times. I know Optimus Prime gets like cancer or some shit at some point. It gets insane.
Robot Chicken is very clever in its parodies of pop culture, including movies and TV shows. These parodies are very witty, and they can often appeal to various fans of different media. It's not necessarily catered to one sort of person. It kind of unites a bunch of fandoms together, because that goes back to Seth Green and his large sort of knowledge of pop culture and of all of these iconic movies and games and toys and just all of the basic nerd stuff that we talk about here on this channel. The show's use of guest voice actors, including celebrities and other notable figures, add an extra layer of appeal, which helps to keep the show fresh and interesting. Big names like Seth MacFarlane, Mark Hamill, George Lucas, Stan Lee, Scarlett Johansson, Liam Neeson, Robert Pattinson, Samuel L. Jackson, Emma Stone, and many more have been on the show before. And we thought SNL was the king of celebrity guest stars. I'm telling you folks, this show is supposed to be Cartoon Network Adult Swim's sort of answer to SNL. I've seen a few people on the internet say similar things, and the more I look at and consider the show, it definitely seems to be the case for me. And it's just a lot of sort of similarities between these shows that I don't think a lot of people notice due to the fact that one is live action and the other is stop motion.
I mean, yeah, I just feel like there's so many shows that appeared on Adult Swim and whatnot that both suffered and benefited from being on such a late time block, because for one, I feel like it just reached its proper audience. Excuse me, its proper audience as far as like the people who were gonna love that from like the jump, like the people who were watching Adult Swim from fucking 12 to whatever 3-4 a.m. Or just caught it at those times were the people that it was honestly probably meant for, versus it airing, at an earlier date, obviously when kids or whatnot are there, sure, for one thing, but just like, even just like I felt like the general public wouldn't, not even general public, but like as a norm, it's not like a typical humor set. I feel like, as far as like how vulgar it can get, how obscene it can get, how dark it can be, but at the same time poking fun at it, at this all the way, and especially some serious topics on that. But at the same time, I don't think it would have done any better at a later time frame to like try to reach a wider audience, just because of all those things. Those people definitely enjoyed it for what they got it for, like why they were there at that time, whatnot, and like why they seek these things out. And I don't know, I feel like it'll probably, you know, end up like the whole drawn together thing in South Park. I just feel like not too many of these shows can exist at one time without a you know, drawing attention to itself, especially with how crazy some of them get. Like that's why, like with South Park's channel with on Comedy Central, that's why they had to make Drawn Together take the dive, because Drawn Together was going crazy. So South Park does the exact same, and they'll be naming people like straight up. At least I feel like Drawn Together in most cases, they were parodies of most people, like, and they like changed them up in a little way. So like even though it was like Superman, technically, like, you know, they changed up the way he looked and like how it is, but you obviously get what character they're portraying, whatnot. But South Park be straight up first, middle, last name, date of birth, like they be going straight ham. But since it's so widespread, they're able to get away with it. But since they were able to sacrifice Drawn Together to, you know, continue that aspect, I feel like that's why they were able to strive at that earlier, because they still were kind of late, but they weren't like Adult Swim late, because I feel like they were what, like 8, 9, 10, something like that, and then like around that time block or whatever. So, but I don't know. Now if it was like a show that could be on like HBO now, I know it'd be even crazier at this point. Because like I feel like there was so many shows that were like given the green light with HBO to just be like, yeah, you know what, go ahead. And some for better or worse or whatnot, but I feel like that's where, at that time at least, though, that would be like the only other place I feel like that it could contend with doing better outside of like the Adult Swim line.
Over the years, Robot Chicken has won several awards, including multiple Annie Awards and a Primetime Emmy Award. Its impact on pop culture is undeniable, with its sketches and characters becoming iconic in their own right. The show's success has also led to several spin-offs, including the DC Universe spin-off and the Star Wars spin-offs, which a lot of people are probably more familiar with than just the actual base show itself. Obviously, these parodies are just what they sound like. They're a series of sketches that take place within these universes, whether it's the DC or the Star Wars universe, and that uses those characters and sort of, makes fun of them in this sort of playful way. It's obviously a parody, but in the same way, Lego Batman is created by people who obviously know their stuff and who obviously care about Batman. I believe that's pretty true for just about every short and skit and every pop culture reference they make. I definitely don't think it's coming from a place of hate or anything like that. It's all supposed to be in good fun, which is another thing that really shines about this show. Overall, I think Robot Chicken is a testament to creativity and to the power of sticking to your guns and trying something out, even if it's unconventional. The show,
I mean, that's all of Adult Swim. That's pretty much everything on there is fucking funded by straight willpower and disdain.
comes from very humble origins, obviously, and to somebody like me, that's incredibly inspiring to think that you can start very small, something like an internet show, a YouTube channel, and one day turn it into something successful. But that is why I wanted to take a look at talking about Robot Chicken. I see people talking about Family Guy, American Dad, Simpsons, and all these other adult animation shows, but for one reason or another, Robot Chicken seems to be left out of the conversation a lot. Thank you guys very much for watching this video. I hope that you've enjoyed this content and that you can go look at some of my other videos if you enjoyed what you've seen here today and you'd like to see some more content like this. Like and subscribe. All of those things help the channel grow, and we are growing quickly. So if you want to become part of the family, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I have been Doc. You're watching Heroic Tales TV, and that's all I've got for today.
That's cool. Yeah, so like we talked about, Robot Chicken was a fantastic time. I don't think it necessarily I think it got the popularity that it needed, not necessarily popularity that it deserved, but maybe for a good reason, so it didn't have to run into any troubles like, what not Adult Swim, Drawn Together or whatnot. I mean, I'm sure it still like had its instances because like every one of these shows, Futurama canceled like multiple times before it went away, and now it's back. I think it's currently back again now. Futurama, Family Guy got switched over between different channels or whatnot before it. I think it's now still on Adult Swim, right? Because it went from like Fox to I think it was on Comedy Central for a little bit, and then it came to Adult Swim, whatnot. Then I think it might have went back to Fox. I don't know, but yeah, because I think Family Guy's owned by Disney now. I don't. It's just it's too much, but yeah, no. So super cool with like Robot Chicken and everything, and always super impressive with like all the stop motion stuff. I always, even though I love all the shows about it, it always kind of slips my mind about how this is all stop motion and everything, and just how fucking impressive that is, and then saying that they do it for so long and so well, and just for like the shits and giggles, like that's a lot of hard work to be making the types of jokes they be making, like so you can't even be mad at it, like talk about like, oh, it's lowbrow humor or whatnot. These people are working hard, so either way. So yeah, that's awesome. We're gonna move on to the next video. Catch y'all later too.
Come